Well, welcome everybody to Speaking of Zane. Got a good crowd filing in for January the 30th, 179th edition. I'm not sure if it's the 78th or the 79th now that I think about it. I think it's the 178th because we had to skip last week. Oh my goodness. We have had COVID in the house, and Lori and Hannah have it. Lori had it the worst of anybody. Um, Now, here's the deal. I think I just had a regular flu, but they're the ones that are vaccinated and they got it again. I'm not vaccinated. I didn't get it. I just had a day that I was not feeling that great. But anyway, um, yeah, we weren't up to doing Speaking of Zane last week, and boy, I feel it now. It seems like it's been forever, but good to have everybody in here. Um, I see we've got my buddy Steve, my buddy Ken, my Aunt Cindy. Hey, Aunt Cindy. My buddy Terry Bass. Lori's in there. Jim Miller's in there. And I've got to sneeze here in a minute. So we'll see what that sounds like. Might have to hit the mute button. Jim Miller's in there. Glad you're in there, Jim. Matt Aaron's in there. I see y'all went skating today, I think. Hang on a second, because I do have to sneeze. Katie Aaron's in there. There's my mother-in-law. She's in there. She was actually supposed to have come and visited already, but I've had to move her visit out a couple of times, and till Lori gets well. And so she is coming on. Let's see. Lori's mother is coming to visit on February 13th, I think it is. February 13th. I think it's a Wednesday for like a week. But certainly Lori will be in tip-top shape by then. But yeah, Lori. So Lori stood her ground um, when her doc said, "Well, I'm thinking you might have to get put in the hospital because Lori was having trouble breathing, catching her breath. She couldn't ex, ex, it's not exfoliate. Um, she couldn't cough it up. And anyway, so in fact, she was pretty worried about it. And she had a video meeting with her doctor, and the doctor told her that she probably ought to check into the hospital. And Lori's got this fear of checking in with COVID and not checking out. So her doctor, fortunately, was not afraid to prescribe her with some antivirals, monoclonal antibodies and stuff, and which is probably what everybody should have been doing in the first place like 2 years ago, because made a noticeable difference in Lori in just less than a couple of days. Um, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I think she will certainly be well enough to spend some time with her mom when she gets here. But good to have everybody in there. Let's see who else joined. My cousin Toby. Hey, Toby. And Daryl's in there. Hey, Daryl. Hope you had a good church service tonight. And good to have everybody in here for the 178th edition of Speaking of Zane here on January the 30th. Tomorrow is the last day of the month. And let's see what else we got going around the house here. Well, this is obviously a time of the year that's very difficult to deal with. You folks that have lost loved ones know. Um, but tomorrow will be the anniversary of Zane's passing, 6 years. Um, and tonight, 6 years ago tonight, right about this time, I guess, would have been the last time I heard his voice. Um, there was football going on, and he made friends with some of our neighbors just across the fence in the back, and he would often go watch football with them. And he uh, he had been watching the football game, and he hopped the fence and came across the backyard. I was out on the deck having a cigar, um, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. He comes walking up the steps of the deck and toward the house and said, "Hey, pops." And that was the last I ever heard his voice. And then the next day would just be a disaster of a day. We went about our day. It was a Sunday. Went about our day like we always do, and just assuming everything was okay. But the day went by, and the day went by, and nobody had heard from him, and he was staying with us at the time, and Jackson was home. Jackson was still in high school, and so he was the only one home. Me and Lori and Jackson, and I don't know what 4 or 5 o'clock came around, and we're like, Lori trying to get a hold of him. It wasn't like him not to be in contact, and especially since we had just seen him the night before. But so many of you know the story already, but we went to thought, well, maybe is he in his room, and actually it was about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and the door to his room was locked, and I was like, well, that's odd, and so you know banged on the door, and nothing, and I went and got a butter knife to try to wiggle the lock open, and we were kind of worried by then, and me and Lori and Jackson were upstairs, and when I opened the door, um, there he was laying on the floor, and called his name, and thought, oh, okay, maybe he's just asleep. He passed out, and of course, Lori just immediately, just freaked out, and she couldn't do anything. And poor Jackson, nothing's ever happened to us like this, and so I ran over to Zane, and we don't know when he expired, but I just I felt so compelled to try to revive him, and I was yelling, when I got down there to touch him, and he was cold, and he had already started um, to develop some purple on his skin. I don't know if you ever seen that, but it didn't really make sense to me. But um, I was yelling to Lori, call 911, call 911, and she couldn't do it. She was crippled. I mean, she was just hysterical. I don't even know if she was hearing me, but I knew she wasn't going to call 911. So I said, Jackson, call 911, call 911, and um, so and I don't know if he was. I did. I mean, I was so. It was such a. Can you imagine? It was such an emotional thing. I was calling 911. Jackson was calling 911, and at one point in time, Jackson and I standing 5 feet away from each other. This is how chaotic it was. Jackson and I are both on the phone with 911. Sort of ignorant of each other's situation, even though we're 5 feet apart from each other. I'm in the room, they're in the hallway, and poor Jackson, the look on his face is I'm sure he's just traumatized. He was I think he was a high school senior at the time. But um, anyway, I just felt like I had to try something, and so I was just trying CPR, and it never occurred to me about an overdose. I wasn't thinking, should I be careful? And I wasn't, and I can, you I'm just trying to do anything I could to revive him, and just will never be able to not see that. And I just remember um, feeling the hair on his chest. I mean, that's the thing that stuck with me, as feeling the hair on his chest and feeling the air come out of his mouth as I pushed, and you know, for a moment I thought that was a good sign, and then I realized it really wasn't. It wasn't. It was just I was just pushing, air out. But it was I mean, as you might imagine, the most traumatic thing that um, I've ever gone through, and hopefully that will be the hopefully I'll never go through anything any more traumatic than that. But eventually, um, and I don't know for how long I was doing that, and I don't know how long it took. Um, but somebody finally arrived, and first to respond were a couple of police officers, a man and a woman, and I think that's right. And somebody um, very, I mean, they couldn't have been any better, and very, you expect, um, police officers and first responders have really been put in a position by society to be always on the edge, to be clinical and callous, you know what I mean? But and it's really for their own safety and their own protection. Um, but these officers were not that. They were, um, they knew that we were standing there. You know, um, that was our son, and so they were very compassionate. And one of them finally was able just to grab a hold of me and gently pull me away, and tell me that I had done everything that I could do, and they treated us and Zane with the utmost respect. And turns out, I think it's true that both of the law enforcement officers were veterans, and they quickly deduced that they were um, in the presence of a veteran family, and it was just it was incredible. And then when they were able to get me out of the room there, um, Lori and I went down to my office, and it was just all we could do is sit there waiting. I remember I was just rocking like this, and then eventually, well, EMS did come, but there was nothing they could do. And then eventually, the coroner came, and then the last we saw him was when they were carrying him out on a gurney. But yeah, just an amazing experience that I would wish on nobody. And I know we're not the only ones that have gone through a tragedy, and I tell you guys that often, that I don't believe our loss is any worse than any of yours. But yeah, so yeah, I can't imagine, those first responders. Can you imagine how they have to compartmentalize, and can you really compartmentalize? And like Katie says there, I mean, can you imagine, you know, the stress that they're under, and what, you know, being in the middle of other people's, tragedies. It's just an amazing thing that people are able to do that job for sure. But anyway, so yeah, so that was our Sunday evening on January the 31st of 2016. So it'll be 6 years tomorrow. Um, like other, like other, things, but it seems like it's gone by like that, and then some days it seems like it's been forever. Um, but something that it's a difficult, struggle between um, a struggle between wanting to remember all these details the way I described them, and um, not wanting to remember them at all. And it's a weird thing. I know for quite some time after, um, I had serious trouble. I would just I would play the events over and over again in my mind, and like regularly, like daily, for like a year. Whether I was at work, I was driving back and forth to Columbus, Georgia, quite a bit back then, and it's a couple-hour drive to get home, and I would drive home and have nothing but time to replay all those things in my mind, and think about trying to have it arrive at a happy outcome, and it just never would. Really weird the way that your mind will play these games, but I just felt like if I just replay it enough, I can change the outcome of it. It's really kind of a goofy thing. And then the of course the next week, um, just became the most intense week of my life. The next day, Monday was nothing. Monday was nobody bothered us. We didn't talk to anybody. I don't think we ate anything. Didn't really sleep. Monday was the only day where there was where it was just from that point forward where we didn't have something to do, because Tuesday came around, and um, things had to be done. There now all of a sudden, okay, what has to be done now? And I learned very quickly, um, the things that you have to do, the things that have to occur. And fortunately, we have great friends, great church family from Savannah, great family. My dad, my sister, um, they were awesome, and they were up right away. I remember calling people. Wow, had to call his wife Abby, and yeah, Lori's right. They're Abby's parents. Abby's parents were freaking amazing in so many ways, and they had no reason to um, be like that. That's just the way they are. Zane had given them plenty, you know, reasons not to. Um, but they stepped up like you would not believe. And actually, it was Dave, um, Zane's father-in-law, who was really the one that kind of um, got me engaged. Realizing on Tuesday that I had things to do, and so they were awesome. Yeah, Lori, like Lori says, Zane was part of their life since he was 12 years old, and even though that the situation he'd gotten in and the circumstances and everything, it didn't put him in the greatest, um, they weren't on the greatest terms at that time, but they disregarded all of that, and they were just fabulous. But I remember having to call Abby, and the heartbreak in, in her voice over the phone, and I had to call Charlotte, his little sister. Um, I think, ooh, I don't remember, Lori. One of us called Hannah, one of us called Charlotte. Um, I called Charlotte, and Charlotte was at college at Georgia Southern, and she, what did she say? She put on a very pragmatic. This is my Charlotte. She put on a very pragmatic, um, hard shell, um, and but then that eventually cracked. I mean, she was his little girl. I mean, she was his little sister, and yeah, Lori's right. Lori's right about Hannah. I think I can't remember. One of us talked to her husband or something, and she found out, and then we ended up, then we had to make all the calls. Lori to her mom, and me to my family, and it was just, having to, um, now having to call people and tell people, and doing that over and over again. It hurt every time, um, but yeah, it was amazing. The the help that we got that next week. So many things had to be done before the funeral and everything, and um, Zane's father-in-law was just absolutely awesome. He connected us with the funeral director, and he came with us and just did more than he ever um, needed to. And then my dad and my nephew Cody, they came up, and I knew I was very quickly. I'm one of those that wants to do everything, and because I want to be responsible for. I don't want to push anything off on anybody else. But I realized very quickly that I needed help, and there was no way I was going to be able to do everything on my own in the time that we had. And so I gave my dad and my cousin, who was an army officer, I gave them a task, and we knew we wanted to bury him in his uniform, and but I couldn't find it. Couldn't find anything. I ended up later finding it, but we ended up. I sent Dad and Cody, and they came back with everything I asked for: infantry cord, third ID patches, all of his ribbons, um, collar brass, everything they found, and a Class A uniform, and everything. So, but there's a lot of things that have to be done. I'll tell you what, I made a point of, as I was doing all of this, writing it all down, um, and making sure that if something like that ever happens to me, it's all written down, and Lori knows exactly what to do. But anyway, what a crazy week! And then uh, there's so much coordinating to do. There's so many things that have to be done, and there's a sequence of events that have to occur because you can't do one thing before the other. And anyway, they it turned out they couldn't do the funeral until the following Tuesday, um, which was fine. It gave more time for everything and people to coordinate. And then once Zane's army buddies found out, it was amazing how the word spread. It was like they had executed a recall roster, and everybody, this person contacted this person and that person, and the next thing we know, um, man, there's like a whole platoon here, and it was incredible, including Matt, Aaron there, um, and it was over the Super Bowl. It ended up Sunday night was the Super Bowl. His funeral was Tuesday, but most of the guys came, and again, the Wallens opened up their house and a couple of their houses, and people stayed at one house and um, watched the Super Bowl at the Wallens house, and I think it's the first time that most of that crew had been together since they got home from Iraq. So it was sort of a bittersweet. Um, it was a bittersweet reunion, but I never would have expected so many to show up that he served with. I mean, it was just an amazing um, turnout. That they came from all over the place. They didn't have to, but it was incredible to meet them all, and now know that we'll be friends with them forever. Um, the ones that we didn't know already. But anyway, so then the next Tuesday, is the funeral, and what happens? It snows. So uh, the 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 police motorcade and um, the Patriot Guard riders, they could not uh, motorcade because of the snow. But the Patriot Guard riders did stand there at the funeral home, and then they did go to. Uh, they did arrive at the cemetery. They just couldn't do the motorcade, but they all got there, and they formed the flag line and all that. It was just an amazing thing. All that had to be coordinated. Um, and with snow, our first visit to Georgia National Cemetery was in the snow, and it was, he when he came into the world, it was in the snow in Omaha, and then when he left, it was in the snow. But yeah, I see a lot of good chat there. There was some, as in any tragedy, there's always, especially in the military, there's always going to be some humor. There was lots of humor in the midst of just absolute devastation. Um, those guys had first time they're getting back together since Iraq, and um, there was just so much humor. Um, and you see in the chat there, some of the guys were sleeping on a trampoline. It was something else. But anyway, so that that is the anniversary of Zane's departure from this earth 6 years ago tomorrow. So Lori and I are planning to go visit tomorrow. Of course, I almost went today. I tell you, um, I had to resist the urge to go today because it was absolutely beautiful. It was almost 60 degrees today and sunny, and I was getting kind of antsy in the house, and ended up just going to the Kroger. But we'll go out there tomorrow. I think tomorrow is supposed to be another nice day here in the 50s and sunny, I think. So it'll be nice to go visit tomorrow. All right. Well, let's see here. What about? I'll come back to the hat of the week because it has to do with this week in military history. And by the way, if I have not acknowledged you joining us today, welcome. I see my buddy Koof in there, who I served with. Speaking of fun times in the military, and sense of humor. That son of a gun um, is one of the funniest guys I know. But good to have you in there tonight from down in the Valdosta, Nashville area. I always forget which little town you're in down there. But all right. Well, let's see. How about, well, I'm going to have to knock some people off here. Remember, I had to knock some people off last week. Let's block user. Yeah, I don't recognize the name in there in the chat. Hey Hyra, okay, Mike. I keep forgetting Hey Hyra. I don't know how can you forget Hey Hyra, but good to have you in there. Hey Rhonda, good to have you in there. We were just talking about anniversary of Zane's departure tomorrow, 6 years. Yeah, Lori. Yeah, Rhonda. Hope you're feeling better. Rhonda's got the virus too. All right, let's see. So, what about this week in military history? We have, well, I'll go chronologically. There's some interesting ones this week. If I go chronologically, on January the 28th, 1942, the mighty 8th Air Force was formed in Savannah, Georgia, with no airplanes. And 80 years ago, 80 years, wow, the 8th Air Force lost 26,000 men during that window of time that they were bombing Germany. 26,000. We'll go again this Memorial Day. I'm not sure of the timing, but we'll go down there again for the flag placement. Last year was the first time, and we placed 26,000 American flags on the grounds of the museum down there. 26,000, one for each airman lost in the mighty 8th during World War II, and planning to do that again this year. How about this for my fellow airmen? Fast forward a couple of decades. On February the 3rd, coming up this week, February the 3rd, 1961. Everybody should know this. Everybody, I say everybody. Um, all of my buddies that I served with. The Looking Glass began continuous airborne alert. The Looking Glass began continuous airborne alert. So the platform that we flew on to keep the Russians at bay or keep them honest, um, with the threat of a retaliatory nuclear strike, our mission began continuous airborne alert in February the 3rd, 1961, and maintained an airplane in the air over the Midwest, um, continuous airborne ops, like Steve says in the chat there. And that's 3 missions a day, 3 flights a day, and I'm so proud to be part of that. Um, during the 11 years of my time, but to be part of such a monumental mission um, that not only flew continuous airborne alert all the way to 1990. I forget the date. 1990 when we came off alert. We came off airborne alert and we moved into those freaking trailers over by the E4 hangar. We ended up having 2 alerts, but the not only did we stay airborne all those years until the sort of Cold War, till we sort of beat the Russians financially anyway. But it was accident free. It was, well, I won't say accident free, but it was Class A mishap free up to that point. Um, we did. I think all of us were part of missions where we had problems, engine fires or um, whatever the case. But we always kept the mission going. Continuous airborne alert. Think about that. 3 missions a day. We'd fly. We the A glass would fly, take off about 6:30 in the morning, and fly until mid afternoon. Another plane would relieve us, fly until evening, and the evening flight would relieve them about 10:30 at night or so, and then fly till morning. And that went like that for decades. But just yeah, Lori was part of that too. Lori was an age mechanic, and of course the uh, the mission, couldn't have operated without the diesel generators and the Hobart and the light carts and the air conditioners and all of that stuff. So it was quite a monumental mission, a mission that runs 24/7. I mean, an air uh, an aircraft in the air 24 hours a day. A monumental. That's when I first met Daryl. When I was an 18, 19-year-old guy, Daryl was the shift chief there, and, all those years ago. Um, but anyway, Looking Glass anniversary this week. And then let's see, carry out to January 27th of 1967. We had a tragedy. Apollo 1, which was supposed to launch just a few days later, was destroyed um, on the launch pad. And unfortunately, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were all killed in the fire there. And absolute tragedy, but did not stop the Apollo program, didn't stop the American spirit, but it was a tragedy for sure. And speaking of tragedies, fast forward to January 26th of 1986. January 26, 1986, Lori and I were in the UK. I remember our firstborn, Tyler, was less than a month old. And the Space Shuttle Challenger, um, it actually did explode. I read some accounts. That's a big vapor. Um, anyway, you have to read to see exactly what happened. You always want to say that it exploded, but it actually didn't explode. But nonetheless, the Challenger crew was killed there on launch, January 26, 1986. Lori and I saw it on BBC News. We had 4 channels on television. We saw it. Must have been late afternoon because I think takeoff was like 11. It was like 11 a.m. Eastern launch or something. But let's see. And then fast forward, um, February the 1st of 2003. February 1st of 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster occurred. Of course, they broke apart on reentry, largely over Texas. Um, and unfortunately, we lost that crew. And speaking of the Looking Glass mission, there was a mission specialist on board. He was a pilot by trade, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Michael Anderson. Um, was a Looking Glass pilot, and a number of us flew with him during his time there at Offutt. And unfortunately, he met his demise there on the Columbia. So, because of all of the NASA-related events, that is the hat of the week. My NASA hat. I'll tell you what, I feel blessed to have attended a number of shuttle launches, both day and night, and while we lived in Savannah. And sorry to see that program. All right, well, that's this week in military history. Let's move along to the Ken. I see Ken. See, this is the epitome of a squared away Air Force officer, Ken Pesic. He knows the time of the Challenger launch there. Ken, put in the chat there where you were at, Ken. Were you in college still, or? Um, but yeah, Lori and I were living in Beck Row, just just outside the base. Hey, Mary Hillman, how you doing? Welcome. Speaking of Looking Glass, yeah, inviting us to the Fourth Acts reunion. Yeah, that would be a fun one. Think about that. I know we have our another 10th Act reunion coming up later in the year, um, for sure. Lori says Kathy Cobb's in there. Hey, Kathy Cobb, have you in there? All right, let's move on to a couple of our challenges here. I'm getting a little bit long in the wind tonight, a little bit. That's okay. Um, Veteran Cemetery Challenge. Well, let me tell you what I have. Daryl, remember, I'm counting 2 weeks worth now because we skipped last week, but I know that Daryl has made it at least 3 visits since we last met, and one of those was for the Reach Across America pickup. I think on the 22nd, I think that was Daryl. But well done, sir. Kid says he was in college. Yeah, see, I nailed it. Kid was in college. Getting out of class early to go outside and watch the launch. Unfortunately, we never got to see the disaster that took place. All right, so Daryl, Jim Miller. So Jim Miller, hey Jimbo, since we last met, Jim has made 4 visits to Omaha National Cemetery. He'll tell you it's no big deal, but he has to go. I mean, he goes right past the cemetery when he makes some of his errands, but he doesn't have to stop there. But I'm glad he does because I have a good friend, 40-year friend, Todd Vanderwerken, who flew with us on the Looking Glass that's buried there, and I'm so glad that somebody regularly um, visits Todd. And I know that Amy and Steve visit out there regularly as well. Jimbo is our resident Omaha National liaison there, so his travels take him right past there. Let's see. Yeah, well, yeah, maybe that'll work out. Barry, I love talking about Zane and this mission that we're on, and sharing it with other people for sure. Oh, that'd be great, kid. Yeah, there's several to pick from. There's Florida National. There's the one over there, Bay. Is it Baymont? Bay Hills, Baymont. Over in St. Pete, there's one. And then of course Sarasota. There's one. But all right. So Jim Miller. Okay. So Jim and Daryl. Um, we had an interesting visit. My buddy let me know about this, so I'm going to count it. A friend of mine, I don't know if anybody on here would remember him. He was a PAX, he was a shop guy. John Peslowski was his name. He was at Offutt in the PAX shop, late 80s, early 90s, and played on the softball team with us. But great guy, John Peslowski, we call him Paz. And he works at the same company I work at now. I've talked about him before. But anyway, he took a temporary assignment to our integration center in the Netherlands, and so he's over there right now for a few months. And last week he made a visit to Flanders Field American Cemetery in Belgium. How about that? So now we have Belgium and Normandy um, on the map. Actually, I need to add Flanders Field to the map, but I'm glad that John told me about that, and he had a couple of nice picks. So if you add up, we are at 562 visits that this relatively small group of patriots have made to a veteran cemetery over the last few years. And that's to 149 different cemeteries. How about that? Tell you what, I'll visit those places for the rest of my life for sure. Sacred ground, absolutely sacred ground. All right, and we had quite a few Think a Vet Challenge entries this week. Steve says he's going to Normandy in April. Okay, outstanding. Yeah, I would love it. I tell you what, guys, if I had to do it all over again and we could live in the UK again, I would do things so differently now in my at my age than I did in my 20s. That's for sure. I would see a lot more places that I didn't really think about at the time. But, Steve will look forward to following you on that. All right. So what did we have from a Think a Vet? These are only the ones I know of. I know there's probably some more that I didn't capture, but I thanked I thanked an Army vet last week and a Marine Corps vet. You know, I'm doing a lot of interviewing for people on to be part of my program, and just happened to be interviewing a lot of veterans, a lot of young veterans that are recently separated, and some sharp young men. Katie thanked the Vietnam vet. And Aunt Paula today had, was it today, Aunt Paula? I'm sorry, Aunt Paula, was it today or yesterday? I can't remember. But Aunt Paula was at Cracker Barrel, I believe she said, in Madison, Alabama. Madison, Alabama. And it just so happened that the Madison, Alabama SWAT team was was there as well, at least 10 of them. And Aunt Paula was able to thank all 10 of them and give them each one of those thank you first responder cards that Lori had made, and so that was awesome. So that means 10, 11, 12, 13 thank yous this week. So we're up at 1,254 thank yous. So 1,254 times a veteran or a service member or a first responder has heard thank you, or I appreciate you, or thank you for your service. And in my books, that's a good thing. How about that? All right. Well, let's see. Real quick on the organizations. I wore my Running to Honor, one of my Running to Honor T-shirts today. Um, where Lori and I are registered, as is my dad and my sister and my nephew Cody. They're all going to come up, and we're going to do the 5K again this year. I might actually run it this year. I tell you what, we've got a health challenge going on at work right now, and I said, well, okay, I could probably stand to get in shape a little bit, and so I formed a little team, five man teams, and you have to have a leader. Of course, I have to be the leader, and so I got five. See you, Rhonda. So I got five. We got five on our team, and there's 123 teams, I think, and we're 2 weeks in. We're 2 weeks into the health challenge, and I have lost 19 pounds. 19 pounds. How about that? And um, I have a goal. I won't tell you what the goal is, but I'm very encouraged because I'm not even hungry. Um, just by the changes I've made, and I haven't even started exercising yet. But boy, once I start exercising, we'll see what the heck happens. But yeah, so running to honor um, on the in July this year. It's going to be hot in most places, except Michigan, where they're actually holding it. But yeah, for us, it'll be warm. But we've got a nice flat place that we do it at. Um, so we will endure. All right, Steve says he signed up. He's going to virtually run with us or walk with us. Good stuff. Thank you, Steve. Great cause, by the way. You guys remember we had Aaron Bartle on, and Katie and Matt and Katie introduced me to Aaron, who's was a soldier and has this passion, and is the founder of this race. And he raises funds for the one of the VFWs up there, and other veteran initiatives. But he's on a mission to outfit that VFW with solar, with the right amount of solar power, so they can realize a real cost savings in their electric bill. So he's been on a multi-year campaign for that, and nothing but respect for Aaron. Aaron, if you're watching, good job, buddy, and we can't wait to participate again. Great cause. All right, well, let's see what else. My Warriors Place, we got some activity coming up there. I've got another work day that we're going to do on March the 4th. It's a Friday. I think the plan right now, anyway, is Lori and I will go down a full week before because there's some activities that Kelly has going on, a big festival kind of thing that weekend before. So she's reserved a cabin for us again. So we'll probably go down there. I'll work the week down there and then culminating in that work day on March the 4th. So you guys stay tuned and we'll do some more with live reporting from down there. There's my second mother, Arlene, down in Savannah. Hey, Arlene, love you. Good to have you in here. All right, let's see. And the last thing on the organizations, Reach Across America. Reach Across America. That doesn't. It's a one time a year the wreaths are placed, but there's activity going on all year long, fundraising and all kind of stuff that they just recently released. And I coordinate it at work and everything, and make a big deal out of it at work. But they just released their 2022 theme, and it's awesome, the theme, and kind of lines up with what we do here. And it's called the theme for 2022 for Reach Across America is find a way to serve. Find a way to serve. How about that? That's putting it right out there. Find a way to serve, because everybody's got some way they can serve. And Reach Across America bold enough to make that statement. That'll be great. And we're only 11 months away from Reach Across America. How about that? Okay, well, let's see. We do have some bad news to report on the heroes lost or wounded this week. Of course, Katie put in the chat there about the F-35. I think it was that actually ended up it didn't crash. The way I read they actually landed and it rolled the plane rolled off the carrier, and the pilot was able to eject and was okay. But we did have some tragedies this week. There was a vehicle rollover at Camp Lejeune. A number of you posted about that. But we lost Lance Corporal Jonathan Gerke, 19 years old, from Lawrenceville, Georgia, right here in the Atlanta metro, and PFC Zachary Riffle, 18, from West Virginia. Kind of keeping an eye out for the funeral arrangements for Corporal Gerke. There's a chance that he may be buried at Georgia National. I'm not sure, but I will let you know. And then we lost an Army specialist, Carolina Ferrer Padilla, died in an accident up in Alaska. Unfortunate. And then, of course, we had 3 firefighters in the Baltimore Fire Department that were killed responding. Lieutenant Paul Buttram, firefighter Kitty Lacayo, and firefighter Kelsey Sadler. Terrible. And then I know we lost a couple of, at least the two New York Police Department officers. Just terrible when that happens. Lori says, Katie, let's chat about a long weekend get together maybe in the fall. See if we can get. Yeah, that would be great. And I think I saw something in there about like Gatlinburg or something like that. Maybe get a couple of big cabins, and that would be awesome. All right, let's see. I think that's it, folks. I'll tell you, have a phenomenal week. Boy, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. That's for sure. But treat every day accordingly. And as you're out and about, if you see a veteran, tell them you appreciate what they did. I mean, doesn't hurt. I just like striking up conversation. I don't always start out with thank you. I just try to find out, what somebody did in the military. But a lot of fun. And remember what Ronald Reagan said: "We can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone." Good words there. We don't know them all, but we owe them all. I'll be thinking about that tomorrow when we um, go visit Zane. And what was it last year's Reach Across America slogan? Be an American worth dying for. Every person in a veteran cemetery, they they um, they basically relinquished a period of time of their life. They gave it to the country. Um, but we don't know them all, but we owe them all. Be an American worth dying for. All right, folks. Well, God bless you. Have a great week. Think about us tomorrow. It's difficult to think back, and you can hear me the way I describe it, and it just all comes back. Um, I can remember so many little minute details, and then there's other things I can't remember. But it's always a tough day. I mean, every day's tough, but the anniversaries and the birthdays and all those, just are are just they're just naturally more difficult to deal with. But we will persevere, no doubt about it. God has blessed us richly, um, for sure. Uh, we don't deserve what we've got. That's for sure. But all right, everybody. I sure appreciate you guys spending Sundays with us and listening to me just yap, yap, yap. And I feel like I've got a bunch of solid friends that truly care about us and care about Zane. And I cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody again next week for Speaking of Zane.